Hello, my name is Elsa and I am a curatorial volunteer at the Old Police Cells Museum. Today I will be talking to you about a strong woman from Brighton who either upheld or defied the law. I have chosen to talk about Christiana Edmunds, a woman who was known for poisoning chocolate creams at random around Brighton, resulting in the death of a 4-year-old boy. Before I begin, I want to make you aware of some of the potentially triggering content I will be talking about in my presentation. I will be talking about death and mental illness. If at any point you wish to stop the presentation, please do. In September 1870, a doctor's wife, Emily Beard, fell ill after receiving a gift of chocolate creams. This incident would be the first of many chocolate poisonings across Brighton, culminating in the death of a 4-year-old boy in June of 1871. It was a highly publicised case, even making its way to newspapers in Calcutta. The perpetrator, Christiana Edmunds, was born in Margate in Kent. She was the eldest child of William Edmunds, an architect, and Anne Christiana Byrne, the daughter of a Royal Marines captain. She moved to Brighton in the 1860s with her sister and her mother and lived a quiet life as a lady of fortune with nothing out of the ordinary. In mid-1869, Edmunds fell in love and allegedly formed a relationship with one of her neighbours, Dr. Charles Beard. There is no written record of their relationship, though Edmunds claimed that Beard burnt all evidence of their liaison. One small problem existed in the way of her happiness. Mrs. Beard, the doctor's wife and Edmund's first victim. In September 1870, Christiana allegedly brought a box of chocolate creams to Emily, which caused her to be violently sick and resulted in Christiana being banned from the Beard's household. Initially, Dr. Beard did not bring any allegations against Christiana because he did not have enough proof and was concerned that it would cause a scandal. After the initial poisoning, Christiana continued poisoning sweets, which led to deadly results. She bought chocolate creams from a local sweet shop owned by John Maynard. She laced them with strychnine and returned them to the shop. Strychnine was commonly used for rodents and other pests, so it was quite easy to purchase from the chemists. Edmunds acquired the strychnine from Isaac Garrett under the pretense that she needed to poison stray cats. She eventually hired young boys to buy it for her to cover her tracks. Several people were sick at this point, but no one had made the connection between their illness and the chocolate creams. That was until the summer of 1871. In June of 1871, Charles Miller bought some chocolate creams from John Maynard's chocolate shop for his 4-year-old nephew, Sidney Albert Barker. The child died very quickly after eating the chocolates, and the tests revealed there was strychnine in them. This still did not raise a lot of suspicion. In the 19th century, food hygiene was not as it is today. If you bought confectionery, it was common to return them to the shop, where they would be resold to other customers. So Christiana buying and then returning the chocolates was not irregular. It was also common for shops to have strychnine to keep away pests, and traces of it would sometimes get in food. Therefore, there were no suspicions after the poisoning of the young boy, and the police ruled it as an accidental poisoning. However, after the boy's death, several letters were sent to the child's father urging him to sue Maynard's chocolate shop. These were later discovered to be written by Christiana. Things continued much the same. Christiana continued to poison chocolates and return them to the sweet shop until the Beard family decided to move to Scotland. When Christiana found out, she attempted to poison Emily Beard once more by sending her a package this time. To deflect suspicion, Edmunds sent herself a similar package and ate some of the chocolates herself, so she appeared as a victim. This time, though, Dr. Beard did bring his suspicions to the police, and she was tried in the Old Bailey in 1872. They discovered that Christiana had sent boys to buy the poisons from the chemists and buy sweets from Maynard's, which Christiana later returned with the poison inside. It is believed she did this to deflect blame from herself in the poisoning of Emily Beard by implicating the confectioner John Maynard instead. No one knew what motivated the random poisonings around Brighton. Initially, Edmunds was ruled a cold-blooded killer and sentenced to death. The Home Office issued an inquiry about her mental state and concluded that she was, quote-unquote, morally defective. So instead of the death sentence, she was sent to live the rest of her life in Broadmoor Asylum, where she lived a quiet and unremarkable life till she died in 1907 at the age of 78. It is worth noting that mental illness was not well understood or well treated in the Victorian era. Mental illness was far more stigmatized, less understood, and poorly treated, and much of the language in this case reflects those damaging perceptions. Both Christiana's father and her brother struggled with mental illness, and much of that played into the way she was tried at court. Her family history was cited as a reason why she committed the crimes. There were many different responses from the press. Some believed of not only Edmund's struggles with mental illness, but also of a doctor which examined her. Others were more concerned about the implications the ruling would have on the way that, what they called insanity cases, were decided. The creation of what they called Mr. Bruce's new aristocracy was a concern showed by much of the press, namely that children of those struggling with mental illness would be able to claim insanity in court when tried for serious crimes. Others believed the insanity case was a class issue. Edmunds lived quite a comfortable life, and when it was found out that she was guilty, many of the newspapers were quick to point out that the claims of insanity only came after her death sentence, meaning that they only claimed it as a last-ditch attempt to stop her death. One newspaper claimed that if she had been a servant, then she would not have been given the same sentence and would have died. While it is definitely a thought that class contributed to the way that Edmunds was tried, a more recent idea held by historians was that it was a tool in the Victorian period to strip away women's agency. Proportionally, Victorian women were more likely to be acquitted on grounds of insanity than men when committing similar crimes. While this meant they were not hanged for their actions, it did paint women as passive beings who were at the mercy of their bodies and emotions. Instead of letting them get away with murder, as it were, it rather took away women's agency. Pleading insanity meant Victorian society could avoid acknowledging the ability for women to commit a visual proof of their capacity for anger, power, and violence. In this case in particular, the poisonings resulted in the death of a child, because it was so unfathomable in Victorian society that a nice, middle-class woman could harm a child. Some have argued that insanity provided a nice societal explanation for something so gruesome. This situated Edmund's ruling of insanity in a much wider societal context of women being denied the agency over their actions for breaking with Victorian ideals. There is also the question of Dr. Beard's involvement. The papers often made out that Edmunds fictitiously created the relationship between them and poisoned the wife out of jealousy. However, much of this is stemmed from the portrayal of the woman as the jilted lover and lays all the blame at Christiana's door. Edmunds was portrayed as flirtatious and attractive, having deceitfully tried to trick Charles Beard into falling in love with her. Her appearance was also heavily criticised by the press. Physiognomy, the assessment of a person's facial features, became popular in the Victorian period for separating a criminal from a normal citizen. During the court case, the press examined her facial profile in an attempt to discover her motives. They found her facial structure displeasing and holding a weird comeliness, an alluring description which suggested her as an outsider drawing Miss Dr. Beard in. This sexist narrative the press gave is based on little evidence and entirely ignored the role the doctor played in their relationship. Though there is no direct evidence of Beard's involvement in the poisonings, his choice to wait almost a year after the first attempt on his wife raises suspicions over whether Beard played a role in the poisonings himself instead of leaving Christiana entirely to blame. Evidently, with so much time that has passed, it will be impossible to know exactly why Christiana decided to randomly poison chocolates in Brighton, or if she even did at all. What this case does reveal is the uncomfortable reality Victorian society was faced with, that women are capable of committing the same crimes as men, motive or no motive, and the sexist mistreatment of Christiana at the hands of the press and the public are indicative of the Victorian attitudes towards a woman acting outside societal expectations. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I hope you have learned something new. I have included some resources in the next slides for further reading if you are interested.